Hey folks, I know it's been a minute or two since I updated on my setup here, my filtration system for a vibratory tumbler. I reorganized the shop. As you can probably tell, there's a wall behind it that didn't used to be. We'll get into all the cleaning that went on in another video maybe. But yeah, something's a little different this time. So I switched to this guy. I don't know if we can see really well. I've been giving it time. The pump's still running. Gave it some time to drain with a hose pointed in another bucket to siphon off all the water that was in this one, so that this one could get completely drained. Now, it's probably about 3-inch thick gray slime on the bottom of this, and you can see the dark line on the sides. Well, as the slime progressively plugs up this filter, it doesn't drain quickly through the bottom, and the water level just gets higher and higher. So I think this one's about ready to retire, because a few more days of unmonitored filtering and it will probably be overflowing before I had the water coming from the tumbler returning into the bag through this hole that I hacked into a bucket like a total hack job. There's a little bit of water left, but I have a theory I saw on the internet, and I don't know how this is going to work out in terms of being EPA friendly there, but some folks say that you get better results running no filter at all, running a total loss filtration system, which is to say you pump or drip feed water and cleaning solution into the tumbler on one end, and you drain the other right into the drain, or into the forest, right onto the pixies. Like I said, I don't know if that's EPA friendly, but they're saying that if you use the water in the clean solution once and then throw it away, that you get better results in less time. Now, consider also that time is electricity. Time is, not just money. Time is also the media wears itself down. So recycling this sludge, even though it's filtered, it's still cloudy after going through the filter. If recycling this is increasing the time it takes to process, it's generating more waste. It's using more electricity. So, yeah, there's definitely some consequences to actually recycling and cleaning. Now, at least this plastic paste, for what it's worth, it's oily plastic jello, sort of. It's thicker than that. It's like mud. At least that's going to go right into the trash where they'll burn it at the local dump. So, that's environmentally sound versus pouring it down the drain or wherever plastic slime goes. So if anybody on an industrial scale wants to chip in to how you handle this stuff, you probably collect it for special recycling, which includes landfill or burning it. I know around here a lot of times the recycling is actually sorted, and some of the materials that aren't valuable to reclaim, but they're also flammable, they burn them for power. And so it's the most economical thing they can do with your recycling is burning it. At the same time, I know they recycle crushed glass, but they don't actually recycle it. They found that crushed glass is good for filling around landfills for water drainage. So they take the crushed glass, glass, not yet crushed, in the recycling, and then they crush it and put it in the landfill, but in a controlled fashion. But so recycling is not always recycling. So with that in mind, how much, if this produces, say, some fraction of the amount of plastic sludge because I increase processing, or increase the speed of processing, decrease processing times, then is that worth, okay, I'm putting less media into the environment, I'm just putting it in small amounts all over the place versus in large quantities in a single disposal unit right into the incinerator. So let me know what your thoughts on that are. Again, this is the first time I've let it drain and pump through, so this was relatively clean water when it started. Obviously there's some leftover sludge down in there. This finished sort of dripping and drying out. So the next batch and the next batch will be more and more clean water, less and less of the residual stuff. And I'll find out, what's the processing speed up? How much does it improve my parts? I don't really care. I let this thing run while I'm at the day job. So And just as a quick rehearsal of how this operates, it's a pond scum pump, pond pump, aquarium pump, water fountain, waterfall pump type deal. It's running. Ultimately, it runs into the top of this at a slow drip speed, and the slow drip was going back into the filter basket, but now it's draining into this bucket to get that water out. And the detail down here is I have a T into a loop back with a valve, so I'm taking about 2/3 of that flow. It's vibrating. It's actually warm because it's recirculating the same water through the pump very rapidly. Say 2/3 of the flow is going straight back to here, or maybe, well, probably more, probably 99%, because then I have a valve over here which is mostly closed, like say 1/3 open. So you guys do the fractions for me. So basically a trickle goes out up there because there's a lot of pressure created by this valve and only a little pressure created by this valve. Now, if this valve is all the way open, it doesn't build up enough enough vertical pressure to get up to the tank. So this valve has to be partially closed for it to build enough pressure. However, if this valve is partially closed and this valve is all the way open, I get uncontrollably too much flow. I find it's less twitchy with this kind of 1/3, 2/3 arrangement than it is with like 98%, 1%, or 2%, or 110%, or whatever. You know, this is a little more controllable just from experimenting. So it also allows me, in theory, I could add another T and put in another valve maybe, and put in another tumbler, which is a future plan to just run 2 tumblers off the same pump, return both, we'll T back together and dump them into the same return, whether it's a filter or a bucket, I don't know. These filters are about $10, and like I said, if it's got a solid couple inches of sludge in it, the problem is this muck that stops it from draining, stops it from filtering, that it builds up. I mean, this thing is as tall as this bucket almost. Yeah, so that's no bueno. It will filter if it fills up with water and I give it a good squeeze. So if it had some kind of, if it was in a real canister with some kind of pump that built actual pressure instead of a pond pump, which basically doesn't build pressure, then yeah, it might have a much longer lifespan. So if you want to economize on filters, you need to pressurize them, which means spending more money on the housing rather than a plastic bucket that you had laying around. No big loss. I've acquired several of these buckets in recent days. Even they're a few dollars a piece, and I can get some of them for free sometimes by finding them in my attic or stealing them from friends' garages when nobody's looking. So there's the pond pump. Also, yeah, I tested as a possible cleaning solution some sort of fuel cleaning stuff, because I heard that kerosene, diesel fuel is a good cleaning agent, which it may be, but the diesel fuel cleaning agent, again, I have a truck that uses it, so well, that stuff ate the paint up and bubbled the paint right off the pump. So I'm sure that took a few years off this thing's life, if it even lives a few years after that. So don't do that. You might use diesel, but it's gonna stink and be slimy. So I like water, and my still using the Simple Green Precision Extreme Aircraft Cleaner deal. It's aluminum safe. If you're running exclusively steel, I would probably run regular Simple Green or something more aggressive. It's just that corrodes aluminum. That's another consideration to make. If I end up using a recirculating system with one bucket, then it's just the cost of another pump and another filter, and I could be running a second tumbler with a second bucket and a second solution and a second pump, everything else. So that at double the price, I could be running 2 different cleaning solutions for aluminum and steel. And I've actually collected some ceramic media for heavier metals like steel, but it's very aggressive on aluminum. Haven't had a chance to test it, but it could be that I dedicate that to a different cleaning solution. But what I would like to do, use the same solution, and that way have a coarse, and then medium and fine, or in this case it'll be coarse ceramic, fine plastic that has embedded grit in it, and then polish with walnut shells and metal polish powder. So just ground up a metal polish bar like you would use on a buffer, but I filed it down into a powder. Yeah, so maybe that works. So, well, I like the idea of doing the coarse, medium, fine deal for efficiency versus separating the types of metals, which not separating the types of metals means I have to use aluminum friendly and steel friendly, which means that's the safety simple green aircraft cleaner won't burn your skin quite off, just a little bit, you know, just eco-friendly style. So actually yeah, if you keep getting this crap on your hands, that's not dirt. You keep getting crap on your hands and you scrubbing with Scotch-Brite and doing all this cleaning, and I use WD-40 or whatever, but it's mostly the back of my knuckles are peeling and they're so cracked and dry, and it really burns. But I think 99% of that is using the Scotch-Brite with no gloves and soap and water to clean my hands off. I don't think it's really the simple green or the WD-40 that have caused any of this. I think it's just continued exposure to scrubbing and soap. So yeah, wear gloves. I recommend it for any amount of cleaning. Wear gloves. Otherwise, you'll bite your nails right off with all the dirt under them. Even though I'm pretty much always biting them off because of all the dirt under them. So nothing new. Anyway, just a quickie. Let me know if you guys learned anything or tell me what I'm doing wrong as per usual. Thanks. So.